Former President Donald Trump continues to rage against the Democrats for allegedly staging a coup against President Joe Biden, whom Trump is desperate to run against, complaining that he will once again have to beat two competitors, which, what? Taking to
truth essential.
Trump writes, the Democrats staged the first ever coup in America. Crooked Joe Biden was told, sorry, Joe, you're losing to Trump big and you can't beat him. You're fired. Okay, sure.
You're fired.
All right, makes sense. So now, for the first time in American history, I'll have to beat two candidates. The second being a radical left Marxist comrade, Kamala Harris. It's not fair. Perhaps even another form of election interference. Okay, so first off, I got a little bit of a history lesson for you. Turns out this is not the first coup in America. That description actually belongs to when a group of white supremacists in 1898 actually overthrew the duly elected government of Wilmington, North Carolina. So, yeah, this was a mob of 2,000 white men, racists, that overthrew, again, a fusionist biracial government in this town. They actually ended up expelling opposition black and white political leaders from the city, chased them out, destroyed property and businesses of black citizens that they had built up since the end of the Civil War, including the only black newspaper in the city, so they couldn't keep record of it, and killed anywhere from, and numbers are a bit like, we don't really know, 14, 60, or even more than 300 people. We just don't know, right? How many people exactly were killed. Black people. There were no white casualties at all. So now what had happened before is that we ended up giving this progressive Reconstruction era government in Wilmington that was made up of poor white cotton farmers who were getting screwed over by the bankers and the railroad companies. And so they partnered with the labor movement, black politicians at the time. They were Republicans. This was before the party switch. And they ran on a platform of self-governance, free education, and equal voting rights for black men, as women didn't have the right to vote back then. So running on that platform, they overwhelmingly won and created a fusion government that actually helped people, except for rich people. So that's one group that wasn't actually helped out. So they took the governorship, every statewide office, and they made rich people pay their fair share in taxes. They regulated the railroads. And they even gave massive debt relief to poor people. So they did a lot of great things. That enraged the rich white racists who could no longer game the system, game the government, use the government to line their own pockets. And so, of course, they went and used racism, racial animosity, and got together a group of propagandists to spread this message that is, this government hates white people. In fact, they used the racism as a call to arms. Here's what one of them wrote. North Carolina is a white man state and white men will rule it. And they will crush the party of Negro domination beneath a majority so overwhelming that no other party will ever dare to establish Negro rule here. This is what they wrote. Another had written that whites should unite and reestablish Anglo-Saxon rule and honest government in North Carolina. Now, this was pretty close to the 1898 election and ended up with white nationalists intimidating black voters so much, as well as white Republicans, because again, this was before the party switch, and threatened them so much that they didn't turn out. In fact, they had threatened to shoot them if they showed up to vote. Quote, you are Anglo-Saxons, you are armed and prepared, and you will do your duty. This is to the white racists, right? Go to the polls tomorrow, and if you find the Negro out voting, tell him to leave the polls, and if he refuses, kill him. Shoot him down in his tracks. We shall win tomorrow if we have to do it with guns. And that's exactly what they did. They showed up with guns. People, black people did not. The ones who did were shot. and killed. And on November 10th, this mob of thousands of white supremacists went into the government, forced the mayor, the police chief, and the board of aldermen to resign at gunpoint. And then they ended up installing their own new city council of white men, for white men, for the rich. That's a coup. That's a coup. The right wing, understand the context here. The right wing has always used violence, threats, and intimidation to fight against democracy. Democracy. And they're almost always backed by the wealthy elite. Why do you think people like Elon Musk are backing Donald Trump? Okay. The Charlotte Observer quoted a prominent lawyer who said this about the coup. Quote, "The businessmen of the state are largely responsible for the victory because they funded it and they supported it." And by the way, they all got away with it. They all got away with it. The people who did the coup stayed in power and even had statues built and buildings named in their honor. Some of them ended up getting torn down after the George Floyd. But there are still many that remain. Look, and not only that, but afterwards, they retained their power by doing voter suppression and normalizing a racial hierarchy that allowed poor white people who had previously worked hand in hand, side by side with black people in this fusion government that allowed all people to get raised up, okay? Now they set up this hierarchy that allowed poor white people to feel empowered over and antagonistic towards black Americans. And there it is. That's the reality of the coup. And the relevance here that it has on today should be very, very obvious, okay? After all of that information, calling this a coup when you have a half black, half Asian woman getting a Democratic nomination is a pretty clear callback, okay? So now, the other thing is, calling it a coup is ridiculous due to the fact that Joe Biden willingly stepped aside before accepting the party's official nomination. And again, it's true that he was having trouble with voters. Absolutely. Voters wanted somebody different, younger, more diverse, part of a new generation. They were concerned about his age. They were concerned about his mental fitness. And since Harris was already on the ticket, it made sense that the nomination go to her. If something were to happen to Joe Biden, she would be president anyway. And so, yes, she's the natural choice. Now, what's of course burning Donald Trump's ass is the fact that the Harris-Walz ticket has surged in polling nationwide and in the swing states, and has brought in record fundraising and has earned a bunch of endorsements. They don't like that. Now, Donald Trump, by the way, also went after the Democrats' 2024 party platform, which was approved on Monday night. He didn't really go after the specifics here. He just pointed out that it hadn't been updated since Harris took over. In fact, he said, quote, "The Democrats accidentally put forward the Biden platform. His name is mentioned 21 times, and yet they threw him out of office. It was a vicious coup. Such a foolish thing to miss. The fake news media refuses to cover it. If I made such a mistake, it would be the biggest story in America." First off, Joe Biden is still the president until January 20th, regardless of who wins. Okay? Now, on the platform, it is kind of funny how they released it with the obvious oopsie. And the reason that happened is they passed it prior to Biden stepping out of the race. So, in fact, Regina Romero, mayor of Tucson, Arizona, and co-chair of the Convention Platform Committee, told the delegates that, hey, look, this platform was already passed prior to the president, and nonetheless, it reflects our vision for the future, okay? Yeah, they're going to update that eventually. They probably will once Harris fleshes out her agenda a little bit more. That said, I doubt it's going to change that much, okay? Harris largely supports the Biden administration's key goals: restoring abortion rights, green energy, capping childcare costs, creating a pathway to citizenship. That's all standard Democrat normie stuff, right? That said, the platform, at the end of the day, doesn't even matter since the candidate's not bound by it. So it's not really high up on the priority list, and it's kind of weird that he is harping about it. And then the other thing is, this is not proof that, Kamala Harris did a coup on Biden. Okay. And so at the end of the day, Trump's just grasping at straws, and it's pretty sad. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.